Finders Keepers was an interesting little find. I mean, I was just grocery shopping one day and ended up passing the red box at the front of the store, and there it was. I've never really used Redbox before, mostly just because after Blockbuster and Hollywood Video died, the charm of renting a movie just died on me. But this movie was an instant draw for me, because A, it had a creepy doll on the cover, which is an immediate draw for me for some reason, and B, one of the top billed actors on the cover was Tobin Bell. And if you've watched my top 9 favorite horror movies list, and Saw, or just watched any episode of mine ever, Saw is one of my favorite movies, and therefore I have a big appreciation for Tobin Bell, so I figured, what the hell, I'll check it out. So, it was an okay movie. The movie pretty much starts out with police reacting to a disturbance call, and they go to this house, and when they get into the house, they realize the entire family has been butchered. Good fun. Now, the first thing you'll notice about this scene, though, is the makeup is laughably bad. Like, it's so fake looking. But also one of the first things you notice when you start the movie is it's a sci-fi channel movie, which means one thing: it's gonna be a tiny bit low budget. So, not gonna judge it on its makeup entirely, but yeah, its makeup is kind of not that good. Anyway, when the cops start looking through the house to see what's up, they find pretty much the entire family's been slaughtered. When they go upstairs, they find the youngest member of a family, a little boy. Don't really remember his name right now, but he's standing there holding the knife in one hand, and he has a creepy doll in the other. And then he lunges at the police, and it kind of cuts from there. Now, I'll say this right off the bat, that's a really good intro to the movie. Like, probably one of the better intros I've seen. It really set up everything well. Having the doll right there was perfect, just because it kind of, foreshadows exactly what we're in for later in the movie. Really nicely done. Really like that. Really good. Anyway, the actual big part of the story starts with kind of a trope, just a little bit. But it begins with mom and her daughter moving into a new house after a divorce. And the mom is actually played by Jamie Presley. For those of you who aren't really super savvy with actor names, don't feel ashamed, because I just barely got into it like a few years ago. But Jamie Presley is better known as Joy, other words, Earl's wife, and My Name is Earl. Yeah, that's kind of a weird transition, but she actually does pretty damn good, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't even know it was her for the first 10 minutes of her being on screen. She kind of fell into the role, mostly because she kind of chopped her hair into a pixie haircut, and she kind of slightly hit her southern dialect a bit, but it seeped through sometimes, which is how I inevitably figured it out. And her really big blue eyes. But yeah, she actually did surprisingly well considering what I know her best for. Anyway, you could tell immediately that the daughter, and she's got to be like 7 or 8, the actor's probably 10, but I think the character's supposed to be a bit younger. But the daughter's already not happy with this whole situation for obvious reasons. She's not okay with a divorce, blah, blah, blah. Trope. But when they get into the house, you've learned a bit about the family. And the mom's like a novelist, I think. Or she's trying to be. Don't I know them feel. So I could connect to her really quickly. And the daughter goes up to her room, and as she goes into the room, her floor vent, unscrews itself. And it's like, that's kind of an interesting choice, but I can get behind that. That was okay. And when she hears the screw drop from the floor vent, she goes to check it out, and in there she finds the same ugly doll that the boy was holding earlier. Found out that doll's name is Lily, I believe is her name. That sounds right, anyway. Could not tell you. I'm doing this all freestyle, so... Yeah. And as soon as she gets that doll, things start getting a little weird. And honestly, it's for these first 2 acts. These are really when it shines. The first 2 acts are probably the best of the entire movie. But once she gets that doll, shit gets weird. She starts acting really strange. She gets a lot more irritable. She becomes a lot more aggressive. And there's even points later in the movie when the mom's getting a bit concerned with her state of being that she lies to the child counselor saying her mom beats her. So yeah, it's a very interesting concept, really. The doll in itself is actually very different than I'm used to, because believe it or not, yeah, I'm going to be comparing it to Child's Play. It's one of my favorite movies. It's about the same basic subject matter, evil dolls, so yeah, I'm going to be comparing it to that, and it's very original compared to that. Because one thing is, it's kind of like a voodoo doll, to a degree, which that doesn't seem original, I know, but the thing is, it connects itself to any child it so chooses. Like, it connected itself to the boy earlier, and it connects to the main character's daughter now. The big draw of the movie, the big thing that was even featured in the trailers that I frankly like, is the doll is so connected, is if you do anything to the doll, it does something to the child too, meaning, how do you destroy the doll? I like that a lot. That was really good. And it even kind of shows this when, because the first time it happens is, I think the mother like tries to forcefully take the doll away from her, and she ends up tugging on the arm really hard, which causes a bruise to show up on the girl's arm, which means, well, later when she's talking to the child psychiatrist, that's when the daughter lies, pretty much. And yeah, the child psychiatrist is Tobin Bell. He's that character, and he's not that important, frankly. Like, he's just a child psychiatrist character. If he's in there, he's only there to check out the child a few times and to realize something's wrong at some point, and then to die. It was an interesting role for him, just because it was so different than what I'm used to, but I don't think he deserved top billing, because he wasn't that intricate to the plot. But I think they just put it on there because he's a big horror star and they wanted a draw. So I can understand that. It's just kind of a bit of a tease, really. Anyway, I don't want to spoil the entire plot. I gave away a few things, but otherwise I'm going to try and keep some of it under wraps, just a little bit. But I do have loose lips, so be warned. I do spoil things on accident sometimes. But I want to take some time to talk about some things I liked about the movie specifically. Like, firstly, like I said, the doll, I really like. It's pretty damn inventive, the doll. I like the use of how they try to make it different, because it's not like Chucky. It doesn't move around on its own, really. It doesn't talk much, and if it does move around on its own, you don't see it, ever. Which, I like the choice. It kind of has a Jaws feel to it, where you don't really get a good look at the monster. And, yeah, so I like the doll a lot. And the acting was actually pretty good throughout most of the movie. There's one part towards the end where Jamie Presley can't really act like she's being strangled. But in her defense, acting like you're being strangled is very difficult without actually being strangled. So I can't really judge her there, but yeah. Throughout most of the movie, the acting is pretty good, honestly. Even the kid's pretty damn good, to be honest with you. She's very believable. I love it when child stars in horror movies are really good. Because, I don't know, I just love it. I love it. The writing was okay. It was kind of hokey, and I'll get to that more in just a second here. But there's some other things I liked. That's kind of it. It's kind of an original concept, kind of, for the most part. Evil dolls have been done before for many years, even before Chucky. So, but yeah, that's the stuff I liked. But it had quite a bit I didn't like at the same time. Like, okay, let's just say this. The whole final act is really fucking stupid. It is. I'm just gonna warn you right now, the final act is dumb. Like, I won't spoil it too much, but the basic idea of what it does stupid is, at one point in the movie, it hints that a certain character died. It doesn't show a body or anything, but it strongly hints that that character is dead. It's because she was in a room where people did die, where the doll was, and you don't see her anymore. Then that character comes back just to explain something, and then dies again. What the fuck was that? As soon as that happened, the movie lost me. It just lost me. And I don't want to spoil too much, but all the things I have wrong with it are spoiler territory, but I'm just gonna say this. The doll has like a true form just before it's destroyed, and its true form is dumb looking. Like, it's so dumb looking. And the reason it's dumb looking isn't because of bad effects or anything. The bad effects didn't help. But it's dumb looking because... Okay, the true form's a dragon, okay? I just have to say that. It's a fucking dragon. Like, dragon, goat, demon, monster thing. And it's really fucking stupid. And it's like... that, you choose that to be the true form of what's inside the doll. Like, fucking an ambiguous shadow creature would have been better than that. A fucking, like, poorly animated shadow lady would have been better than that. Just, like, a face would have been better than that. And it's like... it's a dragon. It's a fucking dragon. Oh, something else I liked. Totally spaced. One thing I really liked is you do come back to the boy from the beginning. Only he's much older. He's like 16 as he get older. And he is creepy and fantastic. And I loved his performance. He was really good. I'm not going to spoil everything about him, but his part is actually very interesting when you get to those. Like, he was one of the better parts of the movie, frankly. And they were very few and far between, but they were interesting. So, yeah, there's that. Anyway, but yeah, it was a dragon. It's a dragon. It's fucking stupid. Also, it's straight up copies Two Deaths from Child's Play. It does. I shit you not. And I wouldn't have even thought of this, but yeah, Child's Play is my favorite horror movie, and it's like, they were very blatant rip-offs. Well, okay, the first one actually hides it pretty well, just because it's a totally different setting entirely. But the basic premise of the death is very simple. Because earlier in the movie, the waitress, they were at a diner of some sort, and the waitress tried to take Lily from her because the little girl has to take the doll wherever she goes. And the doll's ugly, and the waitress comments on it, and she's offers to throw it away for her, and it's like, who the fuck does that? Like, that's just a horrible thing to do. I don't care who you are, even... And she was like a stranger, too. That was like the first time they've ever been in that diner. They just moved into this town, and the waitress tries to throw away her doll just because it's ugly. So that was fucking dumb. I thought I'd throw that in there, too, since I'm talking about shit I didn't like. But yeah, later on, Lily returns to the restaurant. I'm not sure if it was Lily or she controls the girl to go to there for her. I don't really understand how she moves, because it doesn't show. And I kind of like that, but I'm just going to say Lily. Lily goes to back to the restaurant, and the waitress is the one closing up, luckily enough. I think she might have been the owner, too. I don't remember. But, yeah, what happens is she does the basic scampering around, making her nervous. I think she actually stabs the waitress at one point, so she can't run, which is different. I'll admit that part's different. But then she turns on the gas of the stove and blows up the establishment. What's one of the first deaths in Child's Play other than Charles Lee Ray's? He goes to Eddie Caputo, I think his name is, Eddie Caputo's house, scampers around to freak him out, turns on the gas stove, and blows up the building. I'll admit that one was a bit less obvious. So that one might have been just... So I'll give that one just a bit of a slide. But the second one is inexcusable. Just inexcusable. Because basically what happens, she goes to have visitation with her dad, who lives in the city. And I liked her dad. Her dad was actually really cool, and he becomes an important character as it goes on. And he's actually really charming. And I don't know who he's played by, but I liked him. He was okay. But, yeah, she goes to visit her dad, and Dad's got a new girlfriend. So that immediately sucks for her. And the girlfriend tries to give Lily, like, a new doll, like a really nice kind of Barbie ripoff doll. Actually, I almost want to say it was almost more relatable to those old Barbie mannequins you could get where you could kind of, like, style their hair and shit. I recall it being really big for some reason. I might be wrong, though, because it's been a little bit. But, yeah, she gives her a new doll, and, of course, she doesn't like it because she doesn't like the new girlfriend, and, of course, Lily won't let her like another doll. But... yeah, so it doesn't go over well, and eventually the little girl's sent to her room for being little tood queen at the dinner table, and so she goes to bed early. And he apologizes for her behavior, and he offers to go get wine for the two of them to enjoy and have a nice night, and the girlfriend's like, oh yeah, I can stay here and watch the girl, I'll be fine. So, parent leaves woman friend to watch girl in an apartment alone. And what happens, I wonder? Well, let's just say, inevitably, Lily ends up pushing the girlfriend out of the window. It shows a very similar shot of her falling down from the apartment onto a car. That was a blatant rip-off of one of the earlier deaths in Child's Play. That one was not excusable. That one was blatant. I don't know if they were doing an homage, or what, but yeah. So yeah, that was kind of like a red flag for me. It's like, okay, they're ripping off a more successful scary doll movie. That's not good. And also, no, never mind. I was gonna say some part that scene was actually kind of tropey, but it wasn't really. It kind of was with the whole not liking the girlfriend thing. That's just expected, though. But yeah, that's kind of the big things I didn't like. Yeah, the big things I didn't like are just the randomly bringing characters back to explain shit just to kill them anyway, the dragon, and the blatant rip-off deaths. So I guess that's kind of it for my review. I'm gonna maybe leave the rest of your opinion up to you if you would like. But if I had to give this movie a final score, I think would have to be a solid C. Just because it was an okay movie. It was watchable, for sure. Like, I would not recommend buying it. I would really suggest waiting to, like, rent it, or maybe catch it on Netflix if it ever shows up on Netflix, or like on Hulu Plus, or whatever the hell you might use. But I just rent it. It's not really worth keeping just because the final act fucks everything up. It's just hard to watch after that. But it did have really interesting ideas and was really well performed. And until the ending, the writing wasn't too bad. But yeah, with the kind of crappy effects, ripping off really bugged me, but that's kind of my own thing. And it was just a very average movie, is all I'd have to say. So that was my first movie review, unless you're counting the Last Airbender video, which I kind of don't, but whatever. So, hope you liked it. If that helped you find a new horror movie for your collection, that's all I wanted to strive for. So, be sure to like and subscribe, and if you have a suggestion, leave it in the comments below, and maybe I'll check it out. I've got a few things I have planned, but if you suggest a horror movie, I will check it out, and I will review it. Unless I've seen it already, then I'll just review it. Okay? Bye-bye. I'll see you Friday.